Good evening, and welcome to Friday Night Bible Study with the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. My name is Elder Jeffrey, and I'm here with Teacher Sophie and Anthony, and we're the leadership of the St. Louis branch of the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. Again, we are not affiliated with any other groups that may bear a similar name, but we are an official branch of the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, headquartered in Toronto, Canada, with branches throughout the world. Again, I'd like to say welcome, and thank you for coming to Friday Night Bible Study. First and foremost, I want to give thanks and praise to the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob for sparing our lives and giving us this opportunity to be here with you this evening so we can open up His Word and learn more about Him. I also want to thank Elder Shadrach as our teacher, who has given us this wisdom and understanding about our scriptures. And we're thankful that Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries has created this platform and this opportunity to connect with you. And hopefully what we speak about this evening will help you in your journey as an Israelite, learning more, understanding more about Israelite history and culture. The truth of the matter is, as African Americans, as Black people, as children of slavery here, we've been here under oppression for 400 years. And during that time frame, not only have we been physically abused, we've also been spiritually abused. And that spiritual abuse has continued to keep us in the condition that we're in, at the bottom of society, even though the physical chains have been broken off of our arms over 100 years ago. And so it's important to recognize that now that we're at the end of our 400 years of enslavement, that now we're here waking up and having a better understanding about who we are. We're understanding that the philosophies of Christianity and all those various concepts that we've been taught over these past 400 years was not for our upliftment or our empowerment, but for our demise, to keep us where we are. But thank goodness the God of Israel sent us Elder Shadrach to teach us and to open up our eyes to the truth about who we are, truth about who our God is, and what the expectation is going forward towards our redemption and towards our freedom. So I'm glad and I'm thankful that you guys are here with us this evening, and let's get started. Yeah, our topic today that we're going to be speaking about is Paul, teacher of the Gentiles. So we picked this topic because in our conversation with people, there's probably a lot of misinformation that's out there about Paul. And because of that misinformation, many people don't understand the Second Testament. And some people we know throw away the Second Testament. Other people look at it and then try to define it in terms of Christianity and say it's a book about love. And at Israelite Nation World Ministries, we understand that this book is our book. From Genesis to Revelations, it's about our history, it's about our culture, and it's about our God. And so people who have confusion about First Testament or Second Testament, it's because you don't have the understanding. We're here to give you that understanding. And we're going to instead take you through it step by step, specifically talking about Paul, so that you can understand who he was, what his role is, and then be able to look at a lot of the terms in the Second Testament and concepts and be able to distinguish and understand what they're talking about. All right? So that's our task for this evening. So again, thank you for joining us. And like I said, let's get started.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So first and foremost, like we said, under our enslavement these past 400 years, we've been taught a lot of different things about ourselves. What God looks like, our own beauty, our connection to the Creator, who we are, all those various things. And one of the concepts also that's been told us that we know now is false, has to do with Paul and who Paul was. Mm-hmm. So under that prior philosophy, what are some things that you were told about Paul?
Well, that Paul was a Christian.
That Paul was a Christian?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So.
Did Paul say he was a Christian?
Oh, not in my book he didn't
exactly
say.
Right, thank you,
but,
exactly.
You know, in Christianity, they read one verse.
Yeah.
And you get a whole sermon out of that one verse.
Yeah, you have like a couple hours now.
Absolutely, yes. Just that one line, right?
Yeah.
And to say, right, it's just love, right?
Yeah.
But it makes sense, right, why it would be pushed on us that this is just love considering the condition where we were in coming out of slavery, right?
Right.
It's like, well, wait a minute, we need to give them something to kind of let them know that, hey, there's no eye for an eye. Right? Love, let's love each other, right? And it's the one concept we carry with us because we suffer so much. We hate ourselves.
Yes.
So as long as I can say, well, you know what, I can just be me and God will love me.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
it's so far from the truth.
Yes.
Right, right.
Yeah, they just work on your emotion. That's what Christianity is about.
Yes.
You know, as a Christian, I never really sat down and read this Bible.
Yeah.
You know, I know verses, I know stories,
Yes.
but, you know, I never really sat down because, you know, you just listen to one and you leave church, you feeling good.
Feel good.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Right.
You
That's
feel
right.
good because
Yeah.
it's all about emotion. It's not about truth.
Yes.
Right? So.
No, absolutely right. You guys make a great point, right? We have to put things into context. In the context of over this 400 years of enslavement, we can see, the first generation that came here, they didn't come here as Christians,
No.
right? But they came here and Christianity was put upon them. They took away their names, even baptized them in Christianity, and made them only be able to speak in those terms, right?
And remember, when they came, you weren't allowed to know how to read,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
So Masa told you what to say.
That's right. Yes.
Because you had the Bible, but it was just a
Right.
Bible, a book.
That's right.
Yes.
But Masa told you what was in that book
Yes.
and what you should be telling
Right.
your fellow slaves.
That's right.
Absolutely right, and even to even go off of that, right? Because I used to always almost feel like, well, why were we illiterate when we came over here, right? But then the concept never dawned on me. We were being forced into a new language.
Exactly.
Right.
Your
Right.
There was no
culture,
such thing as we were illiterate.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
We
Right.
didn't know their language.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
And so all those things happened, and then our forefathers taught them to their children,
Yes.
which is our great grandparents, and so on and so forth, right?
Right.
And so that concept again of us as oppressed people, it was appealing to us to have this concept of love,
Yes.
this concept of we're all going to heaven. This concept of we're all brotherly love and all one and all that, and the law's no more, and all those concepts we readily adopted because they kind of emotionally fit that gap that was in us. So we thought it would be beneficial to us. So it's almost like that short-term solution to how we were feeling, not knowing the long-term solution is the truth and understanding who we are. Right? So when you go to the doctor, I don't want a short-term solution. Don't just put a Band-Aid on it to make you feel good. You go to the doctor, I'm hurting, he rubs your head, he feels a little bit better, and then you go on your way, but you gotta come back tomorrow and get your head rubbed again, right? And you don't want that. I want, doctor, give me the stuff that's going to cure me.
Take it away.
So I don't need you
forever.
anymore, right?
Yes.
I want to be able to do that. That's what the truth is.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, when he spoke, right, he said, it's the truth that will set you free.
Yes.
So if we want freedom, we can't have freedom if we're not willing to understand the truth.
Yep.
And the truth is, who are we? We are Israelites. We are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And this is our book. We're here in this land due to our disobedience. And now that the 400 years are over, it's time for us to walk on that path of freedom, no longer being held by the shackles of our oppressors. We cannot adopt the philosophy of our oppressors and seek somehow that's going to be the path to our freedom.
Right.
We have to be aware and be devoted and committed to follow the truth of who we are.
Yes.
Right? And let's start with that, right? Who are we, right? Number one, right? Who are we? So, number one, I want us to remind ourselves before we even get into Paul. If you understand who we are, then understand who Paul is.
Yes.
Right? So, as chosen by the God of Israel, and these are things that we've been spoken about in every video of Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. So hopefully, I love iterating the point, nailing the nail, hitting the nail, right? Just make sure we
For
have
400 years we've been told we're something
something
different.
different.
Exactly.
So we need that reminder.
Yes.
As a reminder, all right?
Yes.
So I have one, Deuteronomy 7:6. Deuteronomy 7:6, right? And it's something that we all know. I have to read down here, but please take notes so you can even return to it. For thou, talking to Israel, us, are a holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God has chosen thee, right? Chosen us to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. That's who you are. A chosen people above all the people that are on the earth. That's the God of Israel speaking through Moses to us.
Yes.
So let's start there. Yeah. Let's make sure we understand that concept. Then from that we can talk about other things.
Yes.
Let's keep that front and center.
Yeah. But it's funny that we as a people don't see ourselves here, right?
It's hard to digest.
We cannot see ourselves as chosen, right? That's the lie that we've been taught all our lives, right? And we've been hammered on. We're ugly, we're this, we're nothing, So now you're telling me I'm chosen?
Yes. I'm not telling you. The God
of Israel is telling you. Exactly.
Make
so
sure.
It's hard for us to swallow this.
That's right.
That's
right. But that's one reason we're reiterating.
Yes.
You can't follow emotion.
Exactly.
You got to follow the truth.
Yes.
Right? And the truth sometimes is going to be painful. Mm-hmm. But if you're a steward of the truth, and you really want to serve the one and true living God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, you have to be committed to follow the truth, no matter where it leads.
Yes.
So we are the chosen people of God. Mm-hmm. Right? Full stop. Right? And so with that said, that's not just something that is encapsulated in some time. We were chosen back then, but we're not chosen now. Right?
We're still chosen.
Understand, from the beginning to the end, and I just want to make sure we're clear, because it's going to be very relevant when we get into speaking about Paul, is that commitment, that covenant we have with the God of Israel is perpetual for all generations. Mm-hmm. And we are in that all generations. Yes. Not just us today, but our children, and our children's children, and our children's children's children. That's who we are. That's the royalty. That's the family we belong to. And maybe we see ourselves in a poor condition right now, but I don't know. I feel us on the upswing right now. I feel end of the 400 has been here, and we're on the way
to. And you have to have that. Just think about it. What other nation of people can go through what we've been through?
That's right.
And still be able to be standing here today.
That's right.
To even have this conversation.
That's right.
If we're not a special people, then what is special?
That's right. That's right. That's special. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because we have endured the worst crimes in humanity.
Yeah.
There has never been another people that have went that the voyage alone.
Yes.
Not even talking about when we landed here and the horrors of being in the fields.
Yes.
Even on the ships.
Yeah.
The horror that we went through.
Started from the beginning.
Yes.
So absolutely. So when we say we're special people, hey,
yes,
us being here today,
proof that we're special.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And one other verse I want to read just to nail that nail in is Jeremiah 31.
Okay.
Right? You have that? 35 to 37. Jeremiah 31, 35 to 37.
I can read it.
Oh, sure. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinance of the moon and the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea, the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. If those ordinances depart from before me, saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. Thus saith the Lord, if heaven above can be measured, and the foundation of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, saith the Lord.
Amen. Amen. Jeremiah 31, 35 to 37. Anytime anyone tells you that something has changed between the relationship between the God of Israel and his people, go to this. Jeremiah 31, 35 to 37. That's the go-to verse to show the perpetual covenant that we have with the God of Israel. And to me, this is more than just legal jargon. This, to me, when I say it's an emotional commitment from our Father.
Absolutely.
Don't ever, no matter what condition you find yourself in, no matter, even if you're enslaved to a land far away and you're by yourself and you're in the dungeon and you're thinking, I've forgotten about you and somehow I've moved on. What is it? Can a mother forget her suckling child, right?
Exactly.
There's no way. The God of Israel says, unless the sun and the moon and the stars fall from the sky, that's the only way. You will see me not have or come and rescue my children. Right? The God of Israel loves us above all people on the earth. Mm-hmm. And he's here now to bring us out of this enslavement. Right. First out of our minds to make sure we have the truth about who we are, and then as our community, as our nation, as a family.
Yes.
You know, so I love this verse because it really shows. So now once we have that set up as our foundation, then everything else we speak about has to fit under that.
Right.
So even right now, we can almost end this video saying, well, any concept about Paul, doing something different or whatever, there's something wrong.
Yes.
Because we know the perpetual covenant with the God of Israel, even beyond the legal jargon, the love and commitment that he has for us goes without bounds.
Without question.
I hope that makes you feel warm right now to understand your Father is looking after you.
Oh my goodness.
And it's all throughout this book.
Exactly.
Like,
100%.
It's not just this
one spot.
verse.
Absolutely.
He repeats it all throughout this book. If we would only take the chance to get to read this book.
Right.
It's said over and over and over again. Don't forget.
Yes.
He doesn't want us to forget.
That's right.
We are special. We are chosen.
Yes.
Right? He chose us above every other nation.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? And he made a covenant with us.
Yes.
A covenant that's not going to be broken.
That's right.
Because he is the God of covenants. He's the keeper of covenants.
Amen.
Amen. Without question, right? Because there's no page that's not about Israel.
Right.
Exactly.
There's not a single page.
Genesis to Revelation.
There's not a single page that is
Yes.
not about Israel and Israel's sake.
Right.
Yes.
Everything is always being done for our sake.
Nice.
Right? Whether it's for our benefit or for our punishment, it's
Right.
done
Exactly.
for us.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And even the punishment is for our benefit.
Yes.
As a parent.
It
Right?
is.
That's
It
right.
is.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes, yes.
I do this because
Yes.
I love you. Right. Right?
Want you to do better.
That's right.
Yes.
Right. Because as a parent, I know your potential, and I
Yes.
want you to be the best that you can
Exactly.
be. So 100%. All right, let's turn to Matthew 10, 5-6. Matthew 10, 5-6. Again, you want to get, I got to lay the foundation, but we kind of want to get into the specifics of the topic, Paul. All right, and so before we get there, I just want to make sure, Matthew 10, 5-6, right? And this is Jesus the Christ, and just like we spoke about, the God of Israel, our Father, always, no matter what condition we're in, will send us messengers and prophets in order to teach us and to correct us our ways, right? And Jesus Christ had that role as well, right?
Yes.
To come and to teach us, right? And so it's just very clear, understand, we've talked about this in other lessons before. He came for Israel. He didn't come for the world. He came specifically for Israel. And so here's an example that's relevant to what we're about to speak about. Matthew chapter 10, verse 5 and 6. And what does it say? This is Jesus Christ speaking about above, in verses 1 through 4, it speaks about Jesus Christ in the name of the various apostles, the 12 apostles. Verse 5, it says, "These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." Right? So he sent them out specifically, right?
Yes.
To Israel, to us, the lost sheep. Right? It's a very similar time for us, lost their way. So they knew they're the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but they've lost their way as far as what does that mean? What's our culture? How we should live our lives? There's so many outside influences that they had around them. They had the Romans and the Greeks around them, and that culture was dominating, almost like American culture is now, right?
Exactly.
And so a lot of people, Israelites, have adopted that, right? And so here we are lost. And the God of Israel sends Jesus Christ to teach us, and he teaches his 12 apostles, 12 disciples, who are the apostles, to go out. I'm here for it. I want to teach them.
Yeah.
This is what's wrong. This is what's right. And he said, but only go to them. Don't go to the world. Don't go to the 12. Go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Don't go to the Gentiles.
Yes, he didn't come for the world.
Plain.
Yeah.
Very plain.
Made it very plain, right?
Right.
You can imagine being given that instruction, right?
Right.
There's no confusion.
No confusion. Yes.
Okay, you know exactly who you need to go talk to.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that's it.
Yes.
That's it. But somehow, right, again, the confusion comes into play when we're being taught through the eyes of those who oppress us.
Yes.
What the truth is.
Yes.
And we can't continue to survive that.
Open your eyes.
We're having the students
Yes.
teach
Teach us. That's right. That's right. That's right.
That is.
That's wrong.
It'll
That's
never
the recipe
work
for
out.
chaos.
Exactly. It'll never
Yeah.
work out. But even here you see that how important, just this scripture, you see how important we are.
That's right.
Right?
Yes,
Because he says, don't go to the Gentiles or
Yeah.
the Samaritan. I'm just here for Israel.
Yes. That's
I'm
right.
just here. I know they're lost,
Right.
but I'm just here for Israel because
Right.
they need to come home.
Yes. That's right. First and foremost.
First and foremost.
First and foremost. That's kind of why even though our topic is in Paul and about him teaching the Gentiles, we got to start with home.
Exactly.
And we have to understand who we are, right? We can get caught up in all that, but if we understand who we are, then we go into the discussion, we can get confused about the role and what people are. We are the children of Israel. And our Father is the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And we have a role to be the light to the world.
Yes.
That's who we're supposed to be. And we're here to really elevate that and understand that so we can live up to the expectation our Father has placed upon us.
Yes.
That's Israel.
Yes.
So in this verse also, we talked about in prior videos who Gentiles are. So if you're confused about who Gentiles are, go listen to those other videos.
Yes.
We made it really plain, strangers and Gentiles, right?
Yes.
But just to make it plain, and we're going to see it a little bit, at this point in time, Gentiles are the Romans and the Greeks who are there in that region. And at that point in time, they pretty much have world domination. It was during the World Empire at that time. So very similar to how America is dominating now.
Yes.
The Romans and the Gentiles then, and the Romans and the Greeks, that's the Gentiles then. So he's saying, in other words, if we use today's language, we'd be like, go speak to black people in America.
Exactly.
Don't go talk to white people.
Yes,
don't talk to them. I'm not here for them, right? I'm
Pretty
here
much.
for, right?
Yes.
Right? This is your job, right?
Yes.
To awaken them, right? Okay. So, but as we know, there is a time when the Gentiles become grafted in.
Yes.
But it's specific that he doesn't send the 12, but he selects a particular person to go and teach the Gentiles. Right? So that's what we're going to go into and talk about Paul now specifically in that context. Don't go talk to Gentiles, but I'm selecting one person to go and do that.
Yes.
That make sense?
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So where's that start?
So let's turn to Acts 9.
Acts 9. Acts chapter 9.
Acts chapter 9.
Okay. All right, yes.
And I'm going to read verses 1 through 16.
Okay.
And also, Paul's name was not Paul yet.
Right.
Right? Paul had an Israelite name, which was Saul.
Mm-hmm.
So, verse 1. And Saul, breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went into the high priest and desired of him letters to Damascus to the synagogues,
Damascus.
to the synagogues, that if he found any of this way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound unto Jerusalem. So I'm just going to stop right here, just for a quick second.
Mm-hmm.
We see what Saul was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Saul is persecuting his brethren, and he goes to the high priest to get a letter, pretty much telling him that I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Give me the authority and I will continue on this mission.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he's a terrible person right now.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely terrible. Right?
So, but even so, just to step back, Paul, who was Paul? Was Paul a Gentile?
Oh no.
Was Paul
no.
a Greek? Was Paul?
It's the Israelite. From the
Paul was an Israelite.
From the
tribe
tribe
of Benjamin, yes.
Paul, because under any other circumstances, he wouldn't have went to a high priest.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Because if the Romans wanted to persecute us, they just did it.
Right.
Right? They didn't need the permission from us, right?
Right.
So he said Paul is an Israelite.
Paul was an Israelite. Make sure Paul was an Israelite.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
To get permission
Yes.
from the high priest
Yes.
to go and persecute his brethren.
So let's step back a little bit, because that's kind of like, why would Paul want to persecute his brethren? Or why would, what's going on at this time that this is taking place? Like, what's the context?
Oh, well, Israel is split up into so many different groups and ideologies now because, like you said, some have assimilated into this culture, this Greek culture, this Roman culture.
Mm-hmm.
So you have some that's, hey, this is the law of Moses, this is the only thing we're doing. We're not worried about anything else. Some people say, nope, we don't believe in the resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
And you have all these different Pharisees, Sadducees, you have all these different sects going on, and Paul happened to be a Pharisee, right?
Right.
Which is like, at that time, like the lawyers of the law.
Yes.
Right? These are the ones that know the law front and back.
Mm-hmm. The letter of the law.
Yes, the letter of the law.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know, right, when Jesus the Christ came, right, that was
Mm-hmm.
they were the ones that challenged him the most.
That's right. And
They were the
let him
ones-
correct them. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like what's happening today.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It really is what's happening today, because we have a lot of pastors that are Israelite,
Yeah.
But what are they doing?
Right.
Right?
Yes.
They're
don't have
what,
understanding.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
It's the same if you think about what you just, the scenario you just, that's us today.
Right.
Yes, and the constant pressure.
Yes.
The constant pressure, right? Think about the state of mind you have to go and request permission.
Yes.
To go and pretty much kill your brethren.
That's right. Bring them bound, right? To tie them up, right?
They're still killing each other.
Yeah. Well, we know what the goal is, right?
Yes.
We're going to throw them in prison or we're going to do whatever we want to do with them, right?
Yes.
All because of the belief.
Yes. You're not following the law. Exactly. And not understanding that the Messiah was there in your presence.
Right.
And when a Roman, a Gentile, wanted to let Jesus the Christ go and just be like, I don't see anything wrong with him. Why do you guys want to kill him? And what did the Pharisees say? Crucify him. He's like, but why? What do you know? This is a Gentile. Like, I don't get it. Why? Crucify him, right? But it lets you know, the Pharisees, there's a lot to do with more form than function than truth. Right?
Yeah.
They want to keep their leadership position. There's so many selfish and prideful motivations about power, controlling the people, right? And all these various things. So Paul comes out of that. He's an Israelite. He's a brethren, absolutely. But he's of that tradition where, hey, I don't believe this whole Jesus Christ thing, and we got to, stick to the old ways.
Yeah.
And so anyone who goes against that, we got to get rid of him. We got to get rid of Jesus Christ. Anyone else that's still following him, we got to get rid of him. Got to get rid of him. So to make sure, I want to make it clear, right? Because I know people just look kind of over here. Paul was not persecuting Christians.
No.
Let's get that out of there. That's not.
No.
That is another thing they teach you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's not. Paul was an Israelite who went to the Israelite leadership as a Pharisee to try and persecute Israelites who were following Jesus the Christ and weren't following the law the way they thought it should be followed. Israelites, right? Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Very clear.
And we see that the distinction among us, right? At that time period, even today, right? Of that constant infighting.
Yes.
That constant of we just cannot get along. We cannot
ourselves.
have
Infighting
that
in
unity.
Israel, correct? Yes, right.
Right. This wasn't the Romans coming in saying
Right.
This was between us and trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way to do this, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't a situation where we can coexist doing this.
Right.
No. If I'm right, you have to go. You have to go.
Right. Because you're threatening, right?
Yeah.
So just put it in context. Jesus Christ came to say, this is what's going wrong. So if your leadership at that time, you're pretty much speaking to your leadership is wrong.
Exactly.
And they're like, but I'm the leader of the people.
Yeah.
They come to me,
that.
right? And that even the Romans come to me to kind of make understanding and intercession between the people. Whatever. I have this leadership. I make money and all these various things. So if you're coming challenging me, it's going to be problems. So we should be able to identify that, right?
Yes.
Right now here, right? In this era right now, we come and we talk about the truth about who we are as Israel. And what's the pushback that we get? The pastors and all these other groups that are out there, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
If you're challenging the money, you're challenging the power.
Exactly.
Anytime something happens in the black community, the first place they go talk to the black pastors.
Yes.
Go talk to the black church.
Yes.
And now we're challenging to say that institution
is wrong.
Yes. Maybe it served its purpose in the past. Maybe it did some things in the past. But right now we're waking up to say that's all a lie. That structure, we've grown beyond that. We don't need the cuddling of masses religion. Right? Yes. Now we need the truth of who we are. Amen. Right? And so that there's going to be pushback. Absolutely, right? Going to be pushback. Same thing happening here. Right. Paul was part of that pushback. Right? Paul was part of that pushback. So let's keep going.
All right. Verse 3. And as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly there shined round about him a light from heaven. And he fell to the earth, and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And he said, Who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And he, trembling and astonished, said, Lord, what wilt thou have me to do? And the Lord said unto him, Arise, and go into the city, and it shall be told thee what thou must do. And the men which journeyed with him stood speechless, hearing a voice, but seeing no man. And Saul arose from the earth, and when his eyes were opened, he saw no man, but they led him by the hand and brought him into Damascus. And he was there 3 days without sight, and neither did eat nor drink.
Just pause a second. So, again, Paul, an Israelite, a Pharisee, zealous for the law, see these individuals that he thinks are not doing the law, Israelites, the way he thinks they should be. He got empowered by the Israelite leadership to go to this city, Damascus, go round up people who you see are not following our doctrine, right? Not the God of Israel's doctrine, but our doctrine, and bring them here so we can deal with them, right? So he's on his way to do that, and then he has this experience. Right? He has experience with this light shown around him, and he's like, what's going on? Let's start here. He's made blind, and he's like, I don't know, what am I doing wrong? So he has his experience, and so now he says, go into the city, and it's going to be told you what to do. Right? So this didn't just happen as like, oh, strike him down dead, or just be blind and just stop doing that, stop in the hand.
Could have happened.
It could have, it could have been. Could have been strike dead or whatever, right? Because again, these are people that are following Jesus to Christ that he's going after. These are Israelites that have been given that eyes to see, right? When everyone else has been blind. And so, it could have been punished in a lot of different ways. But there's a specific punishment that he's going to be given, right? Punishment for what he's been doing.
Yes.
Understand that this is a punishment.
It's a punishment.
Right? Yes. Okay. All right. So, but now we're going to see as it develops. But he's right now, just be obedient.
Yes.
Go to this place, and you're going to find out what you need to do.
Yes.
Okay, just keep going.
All right. So, verse 10. And there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias. And to him said the Lord in a vision, Ananias, and he said, Behold, I am here, Lord. And the Lord said unto him, Arise, and go into the street which is called Straight, and inquire in the house of Judas for one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he prayeth, and had seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming in and putting his hand on him, that he might receive his sight. Then Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard by many of this man, how much evil he had done to thy saints at Jerusalem. And here he had authority from the chief priests to bind all that call on thy name. But the Lord said unto him, Go thy way, for he's a chosen vessel unto me, to bear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel. For I will show him how great things he must suffer for my name's sake.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's bring it in context. In context.
Lot of meat there.
Absolutely.
Don't even need to say anything after that.
It's very clear.
It is very clear.
It's very clear.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that the truth is simple. It exists. It's the lie that complicates things. Right? The lie got to be told over and over again. Twisted.
Yes.
But if you just take a few minutes, first of all, pray to the God of Israel and ask him to give you the wisdom and understanding, or to send you teachers that would do that. And then just open up and you'll see. But you can't come with all these notions that were given to you back over the 400 years of my enslavement.
Yes.
And maybe people gave it to you lovingly, out of ignorance. My mother, right? My grandmother, elders in my community that I admire and respect. Maybe they didn't know any better. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. But now you do. And you got to get rid of all of that and start from scratch and let these words are here to teach us. Yep. They're not made to filter through someone else to teach you. That was the problem with Christianity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they're here, very plain, very simple as you open up. We see Saul going and persecuting the children of God, Israelites, right? Who are following the truth.
Yes.
And the children of Israel who are of the lie are persecuting them and trying to stop them from doing that. That's always happened through the scriptures, right? And so now he gets stopped in this experience, and he says this punishment is going to come upon you. You're being blind. Go into the city, and then someone's going to tell you what to do. Right. At the same time, Ananias is being given a vision. Go and talk to this guy. I'm going to send you to do this and to give him back his sight. And he said, I don't know. I've heard about this guy. That's right. He's come here to hurt us.
Exactly.
I can't go talk to him. It's a trick. But thank goodness, the God of Israel says, I never do anything unless I reveal it to my saints. And so he reveals, no, understand, I have him as a chosen vessel. And he has a particular job, specific job, that he has to go and bear my name before the Gentiles. That's his job, right? So, we're good?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, all right. So that's the beginning. That's his task. And he asked, Lord, what should I do? What should I don't understand. What should I do? I thought I was doing the right thing. I don't know. What should I do? He's like, don't worry, I'm going to tell you. And so now here it is. I'm telling you.
Yep.
Yes. All right. So it's good. So we understand that, right? So he's on this path. This is his job he has to do.
Yes.
He has to go and teach the Gentiles, right? So I know there's a part there that says, to Gentiles, to kings, and the children of Israel. Want to elaborate on that? Because people are like, oh, well, okay, you go teach Israel too, right?
Yeah, he definitely had two messages.
Absolutely, yes.
One for the Gentiles and one for his brethren.
Yes.
He had, I think if you read 40 down, you see.
Yes. Well, we're going to it. We're going to see that whole environment, right?
Okay.
We'll see that whole environment. All right. So just another again, this was his punishment, right? Even there's a couple places when Paul is writing his letters, and he even speaks of it in those terms. Ephesians 3:1, right? And I'll just read it really quick. Ephesians 3:1, where he says, "For this cause I, Paul, the prisoner of Jesus Christ, for you Gentiles." Right?
Yeah.
That's not a...
That tells you it's a punishment.
He didn't go in Indeed and look for the job. He didn't say, that's a good job. I want that job. Right? No one would want that job. Understand the context. Let's understand the context going on, right? We have the truth, right? Finally being revealed to the lost sheep, to our people. Right?
Yes.
Right? Let's think in modern terms, African Americans or children of slavery here in America. Right? Wow, I got the truth. I got this, right? And so we're here, we're rebuilding God's kingdom.
Exactly.
Oh, so great. Oh, yes. Don't go anyplace else. We got to focus here before we can go and teach anybody else. We got to teach ourselves.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Israel, we want to build this up, and we're all a part of it. Let's go teach our people. Let's go teach our people.
Yeah.
And then we have Paul, like, well, no. You can't come teach it. You go down to South Carolina, go down there, go teach the Gentiles.
Yeah.
And don't teach them. Is that the job you'd want?
Hurtful.
You want to be part of the whole, my family, my uncles, my brethren. Let's all let's learn, let's teach.
Yeah,
He's like, no,
exactly.
your punishment is
Yes.
that you have to go and teach them.
Yes.
The people who are over us.
Yes.
The people who, in our minds, we envision are the ones oppressing us.
Yes. The one who taught us the lie in the first place.
Yes.
Right? Exactly.
I have to go do what?
You got to go teach them.
Teach them.
Yes. That's your job.
To think of the pain and anguish that you have to suffer through,
Absolutely.
knowing to see your brethren down there on the street, seeing them down and out, seeing them desolate, but you can't go talk to them. It's not your job to go and teach them.
Right.
You have to go to
My job is
over here. Somebody living in this big house.
Yes.
Got all these
Yeah.
gifts and everything else.
Yes.
That's what you need to go
and
talk
talk
to.
to. And you're like, but they don't need me. They're doing fine. My people need me.
I know,
Right?
that's right.
But we'll see. We'll see how that develops out a little bit. So let's go. Let's go and see a couple of examples where he kind of goes through and he starts to talk. And one thing I would say with Paul, again, he's a brethren. He had that job to do. You know, some things you agree with, disagree with, whatever, right? That's fine. Everybody is a person that does, pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
But he was committed to his people.
Yeah.
And at any turn, even with the Gentiles, he always gave respect to Israel.
Yes.
He always was like, whenever there was a question about the same thing about what's the Gentiles replace Israel now, he always would say, "Hey, don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
No.
Correction.
That's right. I'm an Israelite,
Yeah,
so don't
exactly.
think anything like that, right?" He always corrected that to make sure, no. So even when he would go out on his journeys, many journeys out, throughout the Gentile, the Roman Empire, he'd go out, he always would go to his brethren first.
Yes.
And talk to them. Right? So let's see an example of that. Let's go to Acts chapter 13. Acts chapter 13. And let's see, we can start at verse 42. So, so after, just long story, so in chapter 9, we see he has this encounter and he's given that job to go and teach the Gentiles, right? And so, just as a reminder, the door was opened because Peter, right, engaging with Cornelius. Mm-hmm. So the apostles kind of know there's something going on with the Gentiles, but they didn't know as of yet that we have a particular person that's going to be teaching them, right? And so we still, the apostles still, like we just read, are focused on Israel,
right.
But then there's another teacher that's going to be focused on the Gentiles.
There's a shift coming.
Exactly, right. Yeah. So we have. In chapter 13, we have an example of him going out, and first thing he does when he goes to the synagogue and he speaks to his brethren. He speaks about Jesus Christ and how he fulfills the prophecy of the Messiah, and just all those things that go along with that second covenant. And so, but they reject it, right? And so we're going to read a little bit about that to see how that opens up ways for the Gentiles then to kind of come in. All right, so 13:42 to 50. So I'm going to 42. And when the Jews were going out of the synagogue, the Gentiles besought that these words might be preached to them the next Sabbath. Right? Now, when the congregation was broken up, many of the Jews and religious proselytes followed Paul and Barnabas, who, speaking to them, persuaded them to continue in the grace of God. So again, there were many, and I don't know if most, probably, Israelites at that time who were like, Jesus Christ being the Messiah, I don't buy that, right?
Yes.
Pharisees and their followers don't. But there were many who did.
Yes.
Right? The apostles, many who did, right? You go back and even think about when Peter was preaching during the day of Pentecost, and how thousands were baptized. Because they're like, wow, I see it. Their eyes are opened, so there were many that did.
Yes.
Right? Okay. And 44. And the next Sabbath came almost the whole city together to hear the word of God. Beautiful thing, right?
Oh, man.
Yeah. But when the Jews saw the multitudes, they were filled with envy and spake against those things which were spoken by Paul, contradicting and blaspheming. Right? So, our people. So when we're here, it's just us. Oh, okay. But now we got everybody out. Now we got a profile, right? Yeah. Now we got to be like, we got to, I got to pull you down, right? Yes. Exactly. I can't even be like take you to the side and be like, listen, I don't know if I agree. Let's talk about this.
Right.
No, out in public and kind of everybody, I'm going to start just like, he's a liar. It's the characteristics. But you know what? That same sentiment, that same dynamic, go back, talk to Jeremiah. He can relate, right? Talk to Elijah. He can relate,
exactly.
Right? Talk to all the prophets. They can all relate.
Moses.
Right. Just how difficult it is, that you just listen, be humble, understand, listen, pray to the God who goes to have your eyes open. Don't be so stiff-necked and hard, and just because you don't understand what's happening, right? We always say, right, as our elder taught us, you must obey first. Yes. Obedience, then you understand.
Yes.
Right? Understanding is not a prerequisite to obedience. Obey. And then through your obedience, you'll learn and you'll understand.
Yes.
But our hard-necked, stiff-necked people, they see all this, this happening, and they're like, oh, no, we can't let him come and be the, he's a guest here, right? Yes. I live here. This guy's coming in and bringing the whole city. I've been trying to do stuff for years. They never come and say anything. So now this guy come, we got to do something No, we got to do something about that. So anyway, we see that, we see now Paul is following instructions. Yes. He's going there. He's talking about Jesus Christ and his role as the Messiah. But he sees, there are some Israelites, but many Israelites, many Jews are not following him. But we see Gentiles like, wow, I can, start to that. Exactly, actually listening. Yeah. And then we see when some of the Israelites see that, now they start fighting against Paul.
Yeah.
Right? Start fighting against Paul. So that's the dynamic we see over and over again wherever he goes.
Yeah. And two, you see he comes, because they're obviously thinking, wasn't he the one that was prosecuting us?
Right, exactly.
And now he's
with us.
And they're listening.
That's right.
It's hard to swallow.
Yeah, he's teaching these Gentiles.
Yeah.
Because again, right, we know when Peter, you have this council, the discussion and everything that's going on with the Gentiles, right? Mm-hmm. But if I'm average, everyday Israelite, I go to Jerusalem, I keep my feast days, I keep everything, right? I don't know everything that's going on.
Right.
Exactly.
And so I come to, Saturday, so I gather together.
Oh, Paul's here. Let's go hear what you got to say.
Why are these Gentiles there?
Yeah, exactly. What's going on? It's a good question. It's reasonable.
Yes.
It's
and
reasonable.
Paul's talking.
That's right.
And he's teaching them our culture?
Yes.
That's right. Right. What's going on here?
Yes.
Absolutely.
This is Paul's speaking, teaching.
Yes. But I think, in a part of it, that's kind of why the dynamic of having Peter be the first person to have that experience so lays. Everyone trusts Peter.
Yes.
Right? And he's the leader. Exactly. So he lays that. And we were talking about this the other day, right? God of Israel had to give him a vision 3 times. Right? 3 times for him to no, Lord, I've never touched anything unclean, right? But then he clarifies to understand what that vision meant. Right. And when he goes and sees the Spirit come upon Cornelius the same way it does Israel, a Gentile, again, a Roman, The same way, it's like, wow, something different is happening. Thank goodness Peter is humble to be obedient and not just tied to like, no, can't be that way. No. A closed mind can't be taught, right? And so he had the open mind to the truth and to the right spirit. And so he's able to. So even he had an experience, he still it speaks about had to rehearse the matter. How am I going to explain this to the other brethren? I can just say it, but damn, that's hard to swallow. Because that's nothing. I don't understand how this is going to work. But he did. They went through that exercise already. So now when Paul comes, those who have eyes to see, those who have been given that gift to be able to understand Jesus Christ was the Messiah, it becomes, oh, wow, that's what Peter was talking about. And now here's Paul. So it can be digestible a little bit. But so we have it all set up. We got a visuals planner. We got all these things set up so that they would flow to one another. But he also causes that, I think, to ensure that some people, it says part of our punishment, make sure that their eyes are closed so that they would not be able to see. Right? You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting to see how that plays out. So we have Paul doing this, and then we have some of the Gentiles following. And another, if you continue on, I'm going to read the 50, right? Where did I end?
46. I'm going to stop at 45.
Okay, ready for 46? Yeah. Then Paul and Barnabas waxed bold and said it was necessary that the word of God should first have been spoken to you. He's speaking to Israelites, right? But seeing ye put it from you and judge yourselves unworthy of everlasting life, lo, we turn to the Gentiles. That's Paul, right? Now, when he says we, he's not talking about the apostles, because he's not an apostle.
Exactly.
He's talking about himself.
Yes. Being an Israelite.
That's right. That's
him
right.
being an Israelite.
And his job,
exactly.
right? His job. There are other Israelites that may come and contend with you a little bit. Hey, but my job is to go to the Gentiles.
Yes.
Right? That's his job. Okay. 47. For so hath the Lord commanded us. So it wasn't even his decision. Right? Saying, I have set thee to be a light to the Gentiles, that thou shouldest be to salvation unto the ends of the earth. Right? So this is him reiterating, going back. This is the message I was given, that I should be, a teacher to the Gentiles. That's his job. He's not speaking for the 12. He's not speaking for anybody else. He's speaking, right, for him. Right? And when the Gentiles heard this, they were glad and glorified the word of the Lord, and as many as were ordained to eternal life believed. Right? Let's keep going. 49. And the word of the Lord was published throughout all the region. But the Jews stood up the devout and honorable women and the chief men of the city and raised persecution against Paul and Barnabas and expelled them out of their coast. But they shook off the dust off their feet against them and came unto Iconium. And the disciples were filled with joy and with the Holy Ghost. Right? And I'm going to just jump into the next one, right? 14. I'm continue on Acts chapter 14, verse 1. And it came to pass in Iconium that they went both together into the synagogue of the Jews, and so spake. And a great multitude, both of Jews and also of the Greeks, believed. But the unbelieving Jews stirred up the Gentiles and made their minds evil affected against the brethren. One day I'll kind of bring it up just to show that wherever they went, the same pattern. But also, if you noticed, interchangeably the word was used, Gentiles and Greeks.
Yes.
Gentiles and Greeks. Again, we have a whole other lessons that are on our YouTube about who Gentiles are. So we're not going to get into that too much. I just want to point that out. Gentiles and Greeks are used interchangeably in this situation. So we see that pattern happening, right? Okay, so more and more people are now, Gentiles are now like being given the spirit of understanding, right?
Yes.
Being able to be, quote unquote, grafted in. And so now the question comes up, what do we do with them? Right?
Yeah, because it's so mind-blowing, right? It's because we know, right, as Israel, we have a culture that guides us with this spirit of what we must do and how we must go about our daily lives. Here are people who now just have the spirit.
Yeah.
Without
culture. That's right. They're right.
So,
they're Romans. They're Greeks, right? They don't have that culture.
The confusion now is like, so
they weren't circumcised the 8th day.
Exactly.
They don't know.
But we got the laws. They didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We got the laws. They didn't.
When we say Moses, they know. Moses who is that?
Yeah.
And so now you can imagine, right? It's like, man, this is
Yes.
This is weird. What did we do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you mentioned Paul. What do I do? These are the answers, right? Exactly. The answers. So, Paul, that's why I respect Paul. I know there's some things he may say may be a little controversial, whatever, but I respect Paul, right? Because he understood, and when that question comes up, when I don't know, what does he do? He goes to the leadership.
Yes.
He goes to Israel. He goes to Jerusalem.
Yes.
Please instruct me. Help me answer this question, because I'm trying to be obedient. I'm going to the Gentiles like instructed. And now, what do I teach them?
Yes.
How do I teach them? What do I do? Right? Okay.
So the structure is important.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
You can't just you doing your own thing here. And I mean, when you look at all these other philosophies, everybody's dibbling and dabbling a little bit in this and a little, and there's no clear direction as to where they're going.
Right.
Really, because there's no structure.
Right.
Right. We in Israel know different.
Yes.
We do different.
We understand.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So let's go there. Acts chapter 15. Acts chapter 15. And let's start at verse 1. And we'll go kind of to I think verse 1 through 7. We'll skip around. Acts chapter 15. So we're going to skip around and because of time, we're going to hit the important dates and summarize in between. But please, this is an important chapter. And I think, I don't know, the chapter that doesn't get taught in Christianity.
Oh, no.
Acts chapter 15, but it helps clarify so much.
No.
It helps clarify so much. All right, Acts chapter 15, let's start at verse 1. And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved. Right? When therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and disputation with them, they determined that Paul and Barnabas and certain other of them should go to Jerusalem unto the apostles and elders about this question.
Wow. So the first thing, again, right, I know it's a lot of meat in there to break down, right, especially by circumcision, but the fact that Paul had to go to the apostles in order to get the answer to this question.
Correct.
Because in Christianity, I was taught so long, right, taught all over and over again, Paul was an apostle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So why would he have to go
to
That's
an
right.
apostle?
That's right.
To get information?
That's right.
He should know the information,
know.
right?
Right.
And everything we've read so far, right?
Yes.
Doesn't say anything about Paul being an apostle.
No. Exactly.
This entire journey, right?
Yes.
And now that he's going to Jerusalem, hey, we need an answer to this, right?
Yeah.
But even going back to the first verse, right? Very clear. After the manner of Moses, very clear.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot be saved.
Right.
Because this covenant, we know was inked in blood.
Right.
And we know exactly what it means.
That's right.
Circumcision.
That's right.
So it's like,
It's signed our covenant. Exactly right.
For the Gentiles, it wasn't about the circumcision because the covenant was not made with Gentiles.
100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely, right? But any Israelite in that crowd, definitely, absolutely. Whatever said, absolutely, yes. We all in agreement.
That's right. Right. Yes. There was no small disagreement between them, so it was a big question.
It was a big one. Yes.
I think it's worthy for discussion because you got to. I mean, that's new.
Yes.
This whole thing is new. It's not like so. Understand again from our prior lessons about strangers and Gentiles. We've always had strangers around us.
Yes.
That's not a problem, right? We've always had strangers around us. From the very beginning, coming out of Egypt, had a mixed multitude. Yeah, we've done lessons on this, right, all the way through, and it was understood. If they want to be with you and keep your Passover, then keep right? Exactly. Yes. So that's clear. So it's understandable. Well, now we have the Gentiles, right, that are now coming in. We probably could, utilize that same pattern straight and just do that, right? But now understanding, no, this is different. The Gentiles are a particular type of stranger, and this is something specific that they are going to have to do.
Exactly.
And Paul is going to be the one that's going to be utilized to do that. But he gets his instructions from the leadership, which is in Jerusalem. Right? Exactly. Okay, great.
There's still a separation.
100%.
They could have just come on and go to Jerusalem with us, right?
Exactly, right.
But there is a separation.
Yeah, because it's like, no, you
yes.
cannot be a part of it.
You stay over there.
That's right,
Yes.
Yes. Exactly right. So they go. The leadership is there, the structure is there to understand what it is that they should do. All right, and 3. And being brought on their way by the church, they passed through Phoenicia and Samaria, declaring the conversion of the Gentiles, and they caused great joy unto all the brethren. And when they were come to Jerusalem, they were received of the church and of the apostles and elders, and they declared all things that God had done to them. But there rose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees which believed, saying that it was needful to circumcise them and to command them to keep the law of Moses.
Mm-hmm.
There goes the Pharisees.
Yes.
These are the Pharisees that believe.
Yes.
They still come from that disposition of like, rigid and
Yes.
law, which times is good, but sometimes you just gotta be quiet and listen.
Yeah.
Because things change, right?
Yeah.
So all right, and the apostles and elders came together to consider of this matter, and when they had been much disputing, Peter rose up and said unto them, Men and brethren, ye know how that a good while ago God made choice among us, that the Gentiles by my mouth should hear the word of the gospel and believe. And he continues on, right? And for time, I kind of want to just kind of go through how much time we have, and so he kind of goes through, and they come together as the leadership in Jerusalem, the elders and apostles, and tries to go back and forth, understand what it is that we should do from them, right, with them. And so let's just go down to 11. I'll go to 10. Now therefore, why tempt ye God to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? But we believe that through the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, we shall be saved even as they. Then all the multitude kept silence and gave audience to Barnabas and Paul, declaring what miracles and wonders God had wrought among the Gentiles by them. And after they had held their peace, James answered, saying, Men and brethren, hearken unto me. Simeon has declared how God at the first did visit the Gentiles to take of them a people for his name. And to this agree the words of the prophets, as it's written, After this I will return, and we will build the tabernacles of David, which is fallen down. I will build them again, the ruins thereof, and I will set it up, that the residue of men might seek after the Lord, and all the Gentiles, upon whom my name is called, saith the Lord, and who doeth all these things. Known unto God are all his works from the beginning of the world. Wherefore my sentence is that we should trouble not them which from among the Gentiles are turned to God, but that we write unto them that they abstain from pollutions of idols, and from fornication, and from things strangled, and from blood. For Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. Then pleased with the apostles and elders, with the whole church, to send chosen men of their own company to Antioch, with Paul and Barnabas, namely Judas, surnamed Barabbas, and Silas, chief men among the brethren. And they wrote letters by them after this manner. The apostles and the elders and the brethren send greetings unto the brethren, which are of the Gentiles in Antioch and Syria and Sicilia. And it kind of goes through and makes a proclamation, right? So it's a long piece of it, but I just wanted to show they had a long discussion about how we should do this.
Right.
But then we had Peter, and we had the others who stood up and said, this is kind of what we're going to do. When I make this declaration, they don't have to be circumcised. The only thing that they have to do are these three things specifically, right? That they laid out, they voted in letters. They didn't just give it to Paul and Barnabas, but they sent officials to go with them, right, to make sure the authority is there again.
Which reiterates, right? If Paul was of this authority,
his word would be enough.
Yeah, that would be it.
Right.
That would be it, right? Because you would imagine that everything that had happened, right? It's still like, it's Paul, right? That's still, you have that little feeling that but okay, like you said, we're going to send some disciples with you guys to help clarify this matter when you go into these cities, to let their brethren know, no, it's okay for them to do this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But
it wasn't about the Gentiles, really. It was about explaining it to their brethren.
That's right. And so that Paul would understand. So there'd be a consistent message.
Exactly.
This is how it is. And that's the whole thing with the God of Israel. There has to be a structure in place, right? It has to be consistent. We can't do something over here, you do something over there, do something over there. Everything is in a right structure, right?
Yes.
And so, so we have this. So now we have this interesting dynamic now. We have the instructions. We understand the Gentiles are grafted in. We're going to get to that a little bit. But now we have Israel. Again, Israel continues to have the covenant of the God of Israel. It's continued to be bound by the law, statutes, commandments of the God of Israel, right? When the prophets come, when Jesus Christ comes, when Jesus sent his disciples out into whatever, he's teaching them, return to the God of Israel and keep the laws. That's why you're suffering. You're suffering because you're not following the covenant and the culture of the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. That's the message from beginning to end. Jesus Christ said himself, I did not come to change the law. right? So continue, right? Keeping the law. If you love me, keep my commandments, right?
Yes.
The law is there for Israel. If the law had changed, just follow me with this logic now. If there was some substantial change so that nobody, Israel or Gentiles, are not bound by the law anymore, why would there be a dispute?
Yeah, be no argument.
What's the debate?
Yeah.
What are we fighting about?
They shouldn't be.
If there's no more circumcision, if there's no more Passover, if none of those things, then what are they arguing about? What's the debate about? He'd be like, hey, don't you, people would have stood up and said, Peter would have stood up and said, hey, don't you remember? Jesus said, you don't do this anymore.
Yes.
So that's right? No. The rebuke was, yeah, of course we do this. That's how we live up to who we are. It's our culture. The question is, what do we do with them?
Yes. Because this is a
That's the
different
question.
circumstance.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What do we do with them? Right? And so it's clarified, right, that we do with them.
The issue today, though, is that our people, the children of slavery, believe they are Gentiles.
That's the problem.
And that's
Go back and listen to the video.
the
You
big
understand?
problem.
You're not a Gentile.
They
You're
believe,
not.
like, the law is not for the Gentiles.
Mhm.
So Christianity is not Christianity's God is not your God.
Right.
Right?
100%.
So what Christianity is teaching is right for them,
Right. Right. Exactly.
not for us
That's
as
right.
Israel.
Right.
And that's where we have a problem.
Absolutely.
That's where we as a people need to wake up
Yes.
and realize that we're in the wrong place.
Absolutely.
We need to come out from among them
Yes.
and separate ourselves.
100%.
Yes.
So that's our
Right.
problem.
Yes. That is. If you don't know who you are, then you don't know what you're supposed to do.
No.
Because everyone's supposed to do the same thing.
Exactly.
Everyone has a different job. I don't care what it is. If it's a family, if it's a business, if it's an organization, if it's a government, everyone don't have the same job.
Nope.
Everyone has a different job. If you don't know your role, you're not going to do your job right.
Confusion.
Total confusion.
Yeah.
All right? And so that's the same thing here that we see. We see the Gentiles giving a different set of standards, and Israel has the same standards they've always had.
Exactly.
Right? That they live to no standards.
Nothing
right?
has
So if you
changed.
understand that you're an Israelite,
Yes.
you're going to want to follow that. So when we talk
Exactly.
about return to our God, we're not saying return to Paul.
Yeah,
Because
no.
Paul is not our teacher.
No.
Paul's a teacher to the Gentiles.
Gentiles.
We're returning to the God of Abraham, the
The
God
God
of
of
Isaac, and the God of Jacob, and the prophets he sent to teach us.
Yes.
Right? That's who we're returning. That's who we have to understand. So we have to start to separate those two things. So thank goodness for the wisdom of our Elder Shadrach, where he always taught us, when you read anything, you understand Israel from beginning to end, but you have to understand who's speaking, who they're speaking to, and what they're speaking about. Because now you're going to have a situation where you have Paul that's going to be speaking to Gentiles saying one thing, and it's right because he's speaking to Gentiles who don't have the covenant or the law.
Nope.
So he's going to be speaking saying, Gentiles do this, Gentiles do that, and do this. And you're reading it thinking he's talking to you. He's not
They don't
talking
know.
to you. Right? Because he's not your teacher. Right? He's right. So you have to understand who's speaking, who they're speaking to, and what they're speaking about. Right? So if there's nothing else you take from this lesson, that's the one thing you want to make sure. Build that habit within yourself. Who's speaking, right? Who they're speaking to, and what they're speaking about, to kind of put some context in that. Because we have this dynamic now that's definitely, it's almost where you have a crowd of quote unquote believers, all those that these are good people, sincere people that are following the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. They understand Jesus to Christ, right? They've been baptized, they have the Spirit. But in one crowd, you can have Israelites and Gentiles.
Yes.
So in our terminology of modern times, black people and white people, right? At that time to be Israelites and Greeks and Romans.
Yes.
Now to be black people and white people, all in the same room. And then Paul is speaking, but everything he's saying is not for everybody.
Yes.
Right?
He interchanges, right?
Back and forth.
He will say something related to the covenant.
Right.
Then he'll say something related to Gentiles.
Exactly.
And then, like you said, the message gets confused.
Yes.
Yeah.
To people who don't understand.
Don't understand.
Yes.
Right?
Don't
And people who are
yes,
confused in the very
yes.
beginning. To people who don't understand the beginning book.
Yes.
And that's why we always start with
The
understanding
people
who
who
we are
want
in
to
the covenant.
start in the middle.
Or if you depend on Christian philosophies for your teachings, then you're totally
Yes.
confused. And it was so
question.
clear.
Yes.
Let's give an analogy, right? Analogy is right now, let's say we have a racial issue that we're discussing, and we have a mixed crowd, and we have black and white people in the room with us right now, right?
Right.
I'm going to be talking about that issue, but things I say may pertain to white people, some may pertain to black people, right? I may say something like, you know what, we got to start doing better for ourselves. Right? Black people understand what I'm saying.
Yep.
Right? Like, not talking about that.
No. I'm doing pretty
we need to start more businesses.
Educating.
It's not right. They are the same crowd.
Yes.
They know
Yes.
in context. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about I can in the same conversation. It can be saying like, yeah, we need to stop. We need to start fighting oppression. We need to stop oppressing people so much. White people know that that's about us, right? And black people know, they're talking about them, you know? So you guys understand what I'm saying, right? Yes. You can have a mixed crowd, have one conversation, and people understand I'm talking to you, and I'm talking to you. Yeah. And we understand, but it's all one message.
Yes.
And it's all really one thing. We want to fix this issue.
Yes.
Right? So here's an example, one that we use a lot, I think, Ephesians chapter 2.
Yes.
We can read a little bit of that, just kind of see how it's us and them,
yeah.
we and you, right? Just a little bit, just to kind of show that. We won't read the whole thing. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 2, just kind of see a little bit of that. How much time you got? Because I want to make sure we get into the Ephesians chapter 2. You can just start reading a little bit just to show once you're there.
And you.
This is Paul speaking.
Yes, this is Paul speaking.
Okay. And who's he speaking to?
Oh.
Yes. And what he's speaking about, right?
Yes.
So.
And you had he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sins, wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. Who are the children of disobedience?
Right, exactly.
Is it like
exactly. That's right.
Right?
Yes.
And that's the spirit that's now working within us. Right? Among who also we all had our conversations in times past in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. But God, who is rich in mercy, for his great love, wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead in sin, hath quickened us together in Christ. By grace ye are saved.
Ye. You see that?
The separation.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
The separation.
That does not apply to me.
Because they would have said us.
Exactly.
But to say ye, understand.
Or seeing it's Paul, he would said by grace we are saved, you know. But he said ye. So yeah.
And completely breaking it, like you said, having that understanding of knowing who's speaking,
right,
who they're speaking to,
right,
and what is he speaking about.
Exactly.
Right? Because everything he's referring to is like, okay, of this world and everything else. Oh, well, we know who you're talking about then.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yes.
You can't be talking about us.
Right.
Because we have a culture over here.
Absolutely.
And we serving our God, right?
Yes.
So if ye, like you said, just using the term ye, well, we know, right?
Yes.
We have to be speaking to Gentiles because as our brethren did the awesome lesson on grace.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, right.
We see plainly. Like you said, we see plainly. We have that understanding to know, right? It's there on the pages if we read.
Yeah.
And if we understand those three things.
Yeah.
So take some time, go through Ephesians 2, look at a couple of the videos from before. It speaks about law and grace, right? And you kind of see how it talks about us and you, and you see that separation, right?
Yes.
Exactly. And again, you know, and it's about understanding. It just makes sense. You know, to me, it's almost similar to like when it talks about men and women and how, you know, there's differences, there's different expectations. Not to say one is better than the other or anything like that. It's just a matter of we have different roles.
Different roles, exactly.
Right? That allows us to really, you know, be able to build a unified family structure. The same thing. Gentiles have a particular role, and we have a particular role. So there's different standards for us in order to accomplish our roles. So we don't, like, I don't want to take on the role of responsibility of a woman. A woman don't want to take on the responsibility of a man. Yes. Gentiles don't try and take over the role and responsibility of Israel. And Israel's, like you said, don't be duped by thinking that you should take on the responsibility of the roles of Gentiles. Exactly. That's not for you.
No.
Right? And so hopefully we're playing these things that Paul is teaching the Gentiles. And so we read any of his letters, we have to go through the exercise. Who's speaking?
Yes.
who he's speaking to and what he's speaking about. You have to go through that.
Yes.
So at this point in time, too, also there was confusion about Paul's message. Right? Even Peter himself, right, would say, our beloved Paul, who speaks about a lot of these concepts that I'm talking about. It's hard to understand. And, to those who don't have the
exactly.
And it can be totally misquoted and all these various things, but what he's saying, right? And so we want to see just an example to clarify and understand that Paul was not teaching the end of the law. Right? Matter of fact, many times you would say, Israel no more? God forbid.
Yeah.
Right? Does the law become something evil? God forbid. No way. Just try to understand. And we have this dynamic where Paul has this job to teach Gentiles, tough by itself. But he also have Israelites that don't like what he's doing. We just read. They're jealous. They're envious. They're like, why is he getting all this attention?
Right.
And we don't buy what he's saying. I'm talking to the Gentiles and trying to tell them something different. So a lot of times he's just making an argument. He's not even really trying to make a statement. He's trying to fight against what the other Israelites are trying to tell the Gentiles. Get law. And he's trying to tell them, no, don't go to the law. Don't go to the law. That's not for you. And he may, sometimes I think, overstep.
Take
a little bit. Yeah. But he's making an argument to try to prove a point for them and tries to almost lessen the importance of the law a little bit and talk more about grace, which is relevant to the Gentiles.
Exactly.
Yes.
But understand the context. He's fighting against other Israelites who's trying to pull the Gentiles to be like Israelites.
Yes.
And we just read that's not their job.
To do what we're
same
doing.
of strangers.
That's right. Exactly right. So that's the dynamic that's going on. So just really want to really clarify that. But here, let's go to Acts 21. And we're going to see clarify, that that's not what he's trying to do. So I'll go to Acts 21, and this is, Paul has gone around and has talked a lot, and has converted a lot of Gentiles. And let me see, just for time, I want to make sure. Let's see, 21. Let's see. Okay. I'm trying to just jump to it. You read the whole chapter when you have a chance. Okay, I'll start at 15. And after those, I'm starting at Acts 21, I'll start at 15. After those days, we took up our carriages and went on to Jerusalem. And there went with us also certain of the disciples of Caesarea, and brought with them one Manson of Cyprus, an old disciple, with whom we should lodge. And when he was come to Jerusalem, the brethren received us gladly. This is Paul. And the day following, Paul went in with us unto James, and all the elders were present. And when he had saluted them, right, here is what the Lord our God, when he had saluted them, he declared particularly those things God had wrought among the Gentiles by his ministry. And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord and said unto him, Thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are all zealous of the law. And they are informed of thee, that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children, neither to walk after the customs. All right.
The confusion.
All right. Again, leadership, center of authority is Jerusalem.
Yes.
That's where the temple is. That's where the leadership is. And they have Israelites all over the world. Right. But every so often they come into Jerusalem to check in. Right?
Yes.
Same thing we do now.
Yes.
Right?
We have the
our
same
headquarters.
structures. Yes.
Right? Elder Shadrach and the Supreme Council is in Toronto, Canada. We have branches throughout the world.
Amen.
But we don't
do our own
function
thing.
our own thing.
Exactly.
Right? And we connected with our headquarters and we go. Every time we go for baptism, we go for Passover, right? We go to our headquarters, right? For instruction and for understanding to keep us all aligned. Same thing's happening here. He's going to Jerusalem, and when he's there, he's telling them, hey man, when I was out among Gentiles, the God of Israel blessed me this way, the God of Israel blessed me that way. And I'm like, man, that's great, that's good. It reminds me when we go to headquarters, we're talking about, this was happening to St. Louis, the God of Israel blessed us here, and the brethren and elders are so happy. We're so glad to hear that, right? It's like, now listen, this is the situation here. Listen, so we're hearing from some of the Israelites that have come back and reporting that you're teaching Israelites to forsake the law of Moses and to not circumcise their children. We know that's not true, right? We know that's not true, but there's confusion there. So please, let's clarify that. Now you're here in Jerusalem. Let's clarify
let's talk
that.
about it.
Yes.
Did you guys hear that?
Yes.
This is good understanding. The same thing people get misquoted about Paul today, about somehow he's saying law no more. He's saying Gentiles are paramount now to Israel, all these various things. Those same confusions and quote unquote lies are being said even in real time. Right?
Yeah.
But the leadership, they know Paul. They know he's well intended. They know he's not really saying that. Again, because you have this mixed group that he's talking to, people are overhearing and understanding. He's not talking to Israel.
For them.
He's talking to Gentiles.
Yeah.
And they can all be in the same room.
Right.
But of course,
they should know better.
They should know better. But if people are of good nature. But a lot of times they're not of good nature, and they're just trying to cause confusion, or they're jealous, all those various things, right? So, but the important thing here is clarified again. If, just if somehow the law was no more, if somehow there was circumcision no more, or if Paul was ever teaching that, this would be the time when Paul would be like, well, no, there is no more, right? That's not the case, right? There's a confusion that he's trying to clarify, and he has an opportunity to do that. Right? So if you read on, you'll see, because of time, I'll let you guys read the rest of it and see. He says, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go and you're going to, sanctify yourself. Let the people know that that's total lies. You are not forsaking the law of Moses, right? You come here for the feast all the time. People that work closely with you, even Timothy, you circumcise them, right? I mean, you understand and respect the laws and commandments, but you have this particular job to teach the Gentiles and to teach them this different standard for them. And people are getting that confused.
Which is unique, right? When you consider his background, right? He was a Pharisee.
Right.
These are the most if anyone would know the law, it is them.
Right.
Backwards and forward.
Yes.
So for him to say, like you said, having that respect and knowing, like absolutely not.
Yes.
Like that goes against, even when he was wrong and what he was doing and persecuting Israelites. That will go against everything he believed in, to forsake everything that he's ever been taught.
Yes.
Which is the law. Right? It's silly, right, to even have that perspective that the law is no more, right?
Right.
Like you said, not having that understanding, right? There's nowhere in this Bible where that's even a question of saying the law is no more.
Right.
But you see where this was a real punishment too, because he had to appease Israel and the Gentiles.
Yes.
It's like, that's a hard job.
Back and forth. I know.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That's a hard job.
That's what he said. That's what remember. I will tell him how many things he must suffer.
Exactly, right?
Exactly. He even said, I'm a prisoner.
Yeah.
He calls himself a prisoner, for this, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. He didn't sign up for the job.
No.
So real quick, I know it's short for time. I just want to go to the why. And I'm just jump into it. Romans chapter 11. Romans 11. You get to the why, right? This is understanding. And many times in Romans where Paul has to just again correct the Gentiles and say, don't be boastful about yourself. Just because, right now it seems the God of Israel is blessing you and we see Israel going through hardship. Don't be boastful and think somehow, Israel no more, right? All the time he corrects that. So here he goes really clear to give them the why. Right? This is, again, one thing I don't think I've read in Christianity. Don't talk about this too much. Romans 11, right? Chapter 1, I'm gonna hop around because of time. But this is Paul speaking, right? Speaking to the Romans, speaking about their dead place. I say then, has God cast away his people? No. Who's his people? Israel, right? We're clear about that. God forbid. For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Look how proud he says that. He's not saying this with little these balls. Like, check it out. How disrespectful for you to talk about my people no more. This is the Lord. Who's teaching you? It's like that's teaching you. Don't ever take that position somehow. Understand, so I'm getting, So it's beautiful. He's emotional about that. I am the seed of Abraham, the tribe of Benjamin. God has not cast away his people, which he foreknew. And then he goes into Elias and he speaks about, how Elias thought he was by himself at one time too. During that time, and God would say, "No, you're not alone.
Right.
I've always, in every generation, I've always chosen a select few. Even though the whole nation could go the wrong way, there's always every generation a select few.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And thank God of Israel for allowing us to be a part of that number. Absolutely. Stay humble, stay obedient. Okay, so I'm going to jump down then. And I'm with 9. And David said, let their table be a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them. Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back always. I said then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid, but rather through their fall salvation is coming to the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy. So we just read how whenever they would go to the cities and they would see the Gentiles coming and looking, what's the first thing they did? Envy.
Yes.
They were envious.
Yes.
They were like, wait a minute, what's going on? What's this movement that's happening?
Do not teach them.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just an idea that this thing is happening and it has not involving them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like,
yeah, what's going on? Yeah. So
orchestrated by the God of Israel.
Absolutely. Well, and you think about the God of Israel, that he tries so many ways to get us to do right. And think of a parent.
Get our attention.
You're thinking, before you have children, and every child is different anyway. You're thinking like, oh yeah, so I will just teach them this, and they just do it, and everything work fine. They have children, you're like, no, it work that easy. You have to correct them, right? And you may think, I correct them this way, that should work. It don't work. I correct them this way, it don't work.
It works for one, maybe,
but it work for the other.
But not the other one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you got, as a parent, you got to be creative
Yeah.
ways to how can I correct behavior. And so we see all through the scriptures, sending prophets, right? Punishing them with enslavement, taking them from the land, doing all these various things. And so here's one.
Yes.
I'm going to get another people. I'm replacing you.
Yeah.
I just want to, make you jealous so that you can return to me.
Yes.
So these people who have no covenant, they have no culture, they have no history, they have nothing to do with me, I'm going to put my spirit on them.
Yep.
And that's going to that makes me jealous to think about that, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Without question. You have my gifts.
That's right.
That's the thought of it. Exactly.
Right. So the hope is, okay, I got to do right.
Yeah.
Because I want to get back to my
Exactly.
my
Yeah,
father, right? I was somebody else living in my house with my father and eating his fruit. Now, hopefully, it make me act right so I can come back and take my rightful place.
Exactly.
Right? So that's why this whole thing with the Gentiles. That's why Paul was necessary to do that, right? It's all for that. It's not a replacement. It's a mechanism to cause us, to make us jealous, to cause us to act right.
Yes.
Absolutely. And if you continue in, you'll see, because we're running out of time, but you'll see where it speaks specifically about the olive tree and that whole analogy of the olive tree, right? Where it speaks about the well, let's read it just a little bit, right? You got 2 minutes more to go? Okay, we'll go real quick.
Yes, sir.
So I just keep going. All right. So I'll go to 13. For I speak to you, Gentiles, again, here's we and you.
Yeah.
Right. I speak to you, Gentiles, inasmuch as I am an apostle of the Gentiles. I magnify my
Yes, not an Israelite.
Not an Israelite.
So here's where it comes in. Here's where the confusion comes in.
Yes.
The idea
where they
that
think he's an
somehow
apostle.
he was an apostle, right?
Yes.
And even in the letter, right, that he's illicitly states, right?
Yeah.
I magnify my own.
Oh.
Right, exactly.
I gave myself this title.
That's right. 100%. 100%.
This is not something that came down from the
leadership.
None of this happened.
No.
Right?
And this is only with the Gentiles.
That's right.
That's where it stops.
That's right.
Because
when he goes back,
when he goes back to Passover, right?
He's
not an apostle.
He's the brother.
That's right.
Yes.
100%.
Understand it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But he's among the Gentiles, so he's magnifying his office.
Yes.
In
his own right.
It's okay. He's all right. But if you don't understand, right, what he's doing, again, don't forget the context. He has to assert authority.
Yes.
Because he has other Israelites that are trying to say something different.
Yes.
So he's trying to magnify his office so that he can get their attention.
Yes.
Right? Again, get put in context. It's not always some of these things may think, oh, he's so prideful and boastful, but he's trying to do a job. And people, you gotta have titles and for people to listen to you sometimes, right? So anyway, so you see that happening, right? Let's see. So 14. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, again, you see that you and we, right? My flesh, and might save some of them. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead?
Wow.
That's deep.
Wow.
That's deep. We don't have time to get into that verse by itself. That's beautiful.
Very.
So understand. So you think about, to me, oh my God, I got there, I'm sorry. So Paul, again, I love him because he does these things to accomplish the job of teaching Gentiles, but at the same time, he's always remembering who he is.
Yes.
And you can see paramount is his people. Even though he was removed physically from us and divided the Gentiles, it never left. Look at that. It doesn't matter. Just think about if we could somehow have my brethren, follow this path, and you think you're doing good now? Oh, you haven't seen nothing yet. You haven't seen nothing yet, So that's always been his goal, to get them to make us jealous, so that we can all stand up to be who we're supposed to be in the first place.
Yes, we could take our place.
Absolutely.
The pride of being an Israelite.
Absolutely. That's right. 16. For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. If the root be holy, which is we, so are the branches. And if some of the branches are broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree wert grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branches. But if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Understand your place. Right? Understand it's a gift for you to be here.
It's so simple.
It's very simple. And then it's Paul explaining it.
Yeah.
Very plain.
How better? Oh my gosh. This is deep.
It is.
It is. That illustration, right?
Yeah.
And if the roots of this tree are no more, how can a branch be?
There is no tree.
That's right.
There is no tree.
That's right.
To get that understanding,
that's right.
Yes.
Understand this isn't something that know. I know you guys are excited now. You're happy about this.
Right. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Exactly. Yeah. And to laugh or to scorn, the fact of that we were doing bad at that time.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
That's what they say. Cut your nose
nose to spoil your face.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's so true. Again, that's why it's so powerful. That's why we want to take a time to go slowly through to understand Paul and his role, right? Understanding the role of the Gentiles. Understanding as Israelites, that's not our standard. There's two different things going on now. There's the Israelite standard and there's the Gentile standard. But it's a reason why. It's not just because. The God of Israel said, hey, I think I want two standards now. No, it's a standard specifically set up so these people can make us jealous. That's why. Be very clear about that. And so when Paul is speaking to the Gentiles, don't take all what he's telling them as his instruction for you as a child of Jacob. It's not for you. Don't get confused by that. So he has the analogy of the root, that we are the root and the Gentiles are the branches, again, because of us and them. 19, thou will say then the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in, right? There's just some of those that unbelieve. And it's like, well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded. This is to the Gentiles. Be not high-minded, but fear. For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. You don't gotta pass. You still gotta be obedient.
Exactly.
You still gotta adhere to the structure.
Still gotta do
that's right.
Yeah.
So don't think that. There's nothing special about that. Behold therefore the goodness and severity of God on them which fell. Severity, but toward thee goodness. If thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou shalt be cut off. Also be cut off. And they also, if they abide not still unbelief, shall be grafted in. For God is able to graft them in again. So just because there's unbelief today,
doesn't mean
the word, the spirit can come and they could be easily, because it's family. It's the prodigal son, right? That's what the lost sheep is. That's why the majority.
He's our father. He's not going to kick us out forever.
Right. That's right.
He doesn't stop loving us.
That's right.
Yeah.
100%.
Have to keep moving forward.
That's right.
Always will look back to say, yes, come on.
That's right.
That's right. To that family.
That's right.
And like you said, just he makes it so plain and clear.
Yes.
Understand.
Yes.
It is Israel first, and now and forever.
That's right.
It is never it's never a transition period where this is somehow given to you guys now, and that Israel is no more.
Okay, I don't want these people no more.
No, right.
Forget the covenant.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Right.
It's never gonna happen.
And it's so important, right, for him to explain this to them.
Yes.
Right? Because he could have just said, you know what? Okay, they're just doing this. I know the truth. they may not know the truth, but we just going to continue on doing what we're doing, right?
Yes. And here it is, right? Here it is. I want to jump down, right? It's very clear. This whole thing with Paul and the Gentiles, it's not forever. It's for a time. It's for a season because it's for a purpose.
Yes.
Let's check this out. Let's go. Just jump down a little bit to 25. And this is him speaking, right? For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery. Like you said, it's deep. Mm-hmm. It's deep, right? It is mystery. Lest ye should be wise in your own conceits. So understand this, right?
Yep.
That blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in.
Yep.
There's a time frame for this.
Yep.
There's a time frame for this, right?
Gotta read 26.
Oh, we're going. And so all Israel shall be saved,
yes.
as it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. For this is my covenant unto them, when I shall take away their sins. This is for us. Understand, like you said, we started out, everything in the scripture is about us.
It is.
Because it's a father's letter to us.
Yes.
Yes.
To his children. Understand who we are, understand the love he has for us, and understand this whole thing with the Gentiles, that's just there to try to really spur us into action. Right? To make us, jealous so that we wouldn't turn to him. It's another tool by our Father to try to get us to act right. And so just not be confused by that. Let's not take the standards that Paul is preaching to the Gentiles and adopt it for our own. That's why we need a teacher. Thank you, Elder Shadrach, for teaching us
Yes.
Thank
giving
you.
us those
Yes.
measurements. Thank you.
Yes.
Because otherwise we would be all caught up in all that too and
Yes.
confusing about that. But it's so clear to us. Yes. And we're hopeful right now we've laid the groundwork so that it's clear to you as well.
Yes.
Right? So we understand some of these things, maybe the first time you're hearing it, the clarity that we're trying to put forward to you guys. That's why if you have any questions or anything like that, please add to the comments of this video. Send us an email to Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. Just comment or call us. We're here to help. We're here to help in your journey to understand who our Father is, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, and to help rebuild his nation and his family. So come to us sincerely, with humility, ready to learn, and we're ready to teach. So again, Thank you for Friday night. Thank you for joining with us. Again, I hope it was fruitful for you. And until next time, I will say peace.
Peace.
Again. Whoa, how many times do we have to learn before we get it right? Slavery was a punishment, so fear your judgment. The test is here on earth to protect it and preserve the truth of our God. Statutes, laws and commandments. Be brave, the road is long. This journey's for the strong, not the weak. So hold on. How many times do we have to learn before we get it right? Slavery was a punishment. So fear your judgment.